Kim, I wanted to welcome you aboard. I know we're all thrilled to have you here as our newest member of the Recreation Commission. So I'd love to give you a chance to just introduce yourself, tell us about yourself, what your goals are, anything you'd like to say.
She's on
Hi, everybody. There we go. Hi. Thanks for having me. Hi, Ann. Hi, guys. So, yeah, I'm excited. I don't really know what, my role is going to be and what I do, but I'm excited for whatever you need me to do. In terms of how I got elected, it was sort of a last minute thing. It was a write-in, but I kind of feel like this is right up my alley. I've been in Norfolk for over 15 years. I have a master's degree in education. I taught in school systems. I'm a mom of 4 kids. I have 2 athletes playing in college. So my kids have come up playing youth sports and club sports and high school sports. I coached King Philip field hockey team for a year. I coached the youth field hockey program at KP for about 3 to 4 years. I coached at Mansfield High School. I coach there. It's like, so I feel like this is the right thing for me because I'm all about sports. I sort of touch a little bit on a lot of different things, but I'm not sure what my role will be, or I'm just happy to help and learn and see what, I can help everybody with. I also own a field hockey club. That's my business. I'm on a side. So, I help kids get to college. I work with youth programs that send their kids to me. So just all different, I guess. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Ann.
Absolutely. I'm personally, I know we're all thrilled to have you here. And I would say my personal opinion, there are no roles here. I think we all kind of have equal say, and the only thing that counts is good ideas, in my opinion.
That's awesome.
Discussion is always open here, and people speak what they feel, and we kind of come to decisions on these topics as a group. So I think
Awesome.
you're doing great. Now I think you'll really have an interesting perspective to add to all of our discussions. So welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so lots to do today. So the next is the committee organization. So unless anyone has an objection, I was gonna see if we should table that to the end, just because Liza's not here. We should do it by the end of the meeting if she doesn't come, but I want to give her the chance to come here and speak her mind on those different positions. So that would bring us to what's listed as the KP Greenway, but I guess as Zach and Peter can tell you, the name is a little in flux right now. So I have invited Zack McKeever and Peter Svalbe. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. They have taken the initiative to form a friends group, even though I think the word friends is also in question right now, but a group of citizen advocates from the Tri-Town area as well as Walpole and North Attleboro to explore the building and development of a rail trail or a greenway that expand through those towns, kind of start in Walpole, go all the way down the Rhode Island, kind of right through Norfolk, Rentham, Plainville. I know we've discussed this before in the context of CPC, but with CPC's efforts kind of stalled out for the time being, they've taken the initiative and formed a group. So I really wanted to give them the opportunity to come in, speak about what their goals are, what they're looking for from us, and kind of just get the dialogue started. So I'll turn it over to you guys, and just feel free to ask anything, say what you'd like.
Sure. Thanks for taking the time to let Peter and I join you tonight. I know your time is limited, so we'll try to be fairly brief. And then if you have questions for us, we're happy to try to answer anything you have. I think I'll try to go back a couple of months, probably towards the end of March. I reached out to Peter, who got me sort of in touch with Rich McCarthy, the town planner in Norfolk, and the 3 of us started putting our heads together to sort of kind of figure out how we could get to the planning of a potential rail trail in Norfolk. Peter lives, his property abuts the old Colony Railway over in Pondville, the section of Pondville. And that's sort of what got, I think, his wheels turning on the project. My place of work is in Rentham and sort of backs up to the same trail, just, you know, maybe half a mile down from Peter's house. That's sort of how I got interested in it as well. And then from talking with Peter and Rich, we sort of reached out to Rentham. Rentham led to Plainville. Plainville led to North Attleboro, and, you know, we reached back up to Walpole. So the overview of the Greenway would be from the new, basically the new fields that are on Route 1 in Walpole, across from the prison. And it would go all the way through, like Will had mentioned, that short stretch of Walpole, Norfolk, Rentham, Plainville, and into North Attleboro. And that stretch is about 17 miles on the trail, which would be pretty significant for, you know, a nice recreational trail in this area. The hope would be that we could extend it a little further through, I think it's Cumberland, Rhode Island, and connect to, there's an existing bike trail called the Blackstone Valley Bikeway, I think Bikeway, in it goes from, I think, like Providence, or at least Pawtucket, up through towards Blackstone and Bellingham in that area, which is also, I think, an 18-mile bike trail. So when we, you know, like I mentioned, we started off kind of with a small idea. We've talked to the MAPC and David Lausenheiser, and he sort of suggested, sorry, I don't know what just happened. My screen went black, but I think I'm here still. He suggested we try to make a more regionalized trail. So the reason for us starting this group, and again, I think we'll probably end up losing the word friends, and we can talk about that another time, but it's not that big of an issue. But the reason to start this group is to sort of regionalize the trail, which should help with funding. We do plan to hopefully lean on the CPC in town, and I think each of the respective towns have, you know, their own committee to hopefully assist with that. But really to show the community support and sort of show the regional aspect of it. That was the idea in sort of starting this group. So Peter, anything you want to add? Or
Zach, I think you covered a lot, and I think I would just add, you know, as Zach mentioned, I've been in Norfolk about going on 5 years now, and our property here on Everett backs up to what was the historic Old Colony Rail Trail. And as I started investigating it, it definitely, I mean, it's got this connect. At the point in time when I first learned about it, it's, you know, I could see that it could connect along Everett, up along Southwood, all the way into Walpole. And then the recreation center there in the Walpole Fields on 1A started up, and Zach became involved as well. And since then, it's really the effort in it has grown exponentially. I mean, Zach has done amazing things in terms of networking our small group in with all of these towns, and the interest is super high across the towns, because I think just for this portion within Massachusetts for us, I mean, I think it would equate to like 17 miles. I think, was that right, Zach? It was about 17 miles down the border of Rhode Island. Yeah. So tons of interest, tons of things happening right now. Like in Rentham, they're seeking funding to do a feasibility study. The trail is actually completely mapped out. Both David Lausenheiser over at MAPC had initially marked it on his map. We can send you guys links to that. When he met with us, he said, hey, this area is kind of like dry in terms of rail trails, but this particular one that you guys are looking at in my estimation, has the biggest untapped potential. So that was very encouraging to hear from somebody from, of that caliber from MAPC. Walpole as well is doing some feasibility work and continuing to map their trails. So as of right now, we can see it feeding into the Walpole Rec and a little bit up further north of that into Winter Street, but they're also starting to map that trail beyond Winter Street towards Norwood. So there's potential on the north end of the trail as well to continue kind of expanding. We started a friends group. I think, Zach, what do we have right now from an interest standpoint? I think it's 19 members at this point on our distribution.
That's about right. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's across all the towns. So definitely something that has some energy to it. The trails available to us potentially in Norfolk. We could go into detail about that a little bit. It's not easy, but also not as complex as some of the other towns and some of the things they need to overcome to be able to connect all the trails, given, parcels are split out, there's different ownership, et cetera, et cetera. So our portion, there's going to be effort involved in being able to acquire and start clearing the area, but definitely looking for some help from committees, from folks in town who have interest in open space for the town.
Yeah, a couple of things too that Peter brought to my mind, and Will sort of touched on the first one. The name of the rail trail, we had originally decided as the group on the King Philip Greenway, and we're sort of putting that on pause. We've been sort of instructed from a couple of different areas that the use of King Philip, who was actually known as Metacomet for the Wampanoag Indian or Native American tribe. There's some, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the sort of the climate in the country right now, and how that could possibly be a touchy subject. I did reach out to a member of the, I think the senior historical committee from the Wampanoag tribe last week, and the person I spoke with didn't find an issue with it, but I asked that he maybe consult with some other tribal members, and just to make sure that that we do our due diligence, and if we do decide to go that route, and we still might not, there was overwhelming support for that name before we kind of ran into this idea. So we're still sort of playing with the name, and that's sort of to be determined, but hopefully we'll have some clarity on that maybe by the end of this week. Peter mentioned.
Could I add that that what Zach mentioned too? So right now we're just looking temporarily more focusing on the region and geographic aspects of the trail, but that historian mentioned, the history and kind of, can we incorporate historical markers and historical information? And also for Norfolk, just from the rail standpoint and the history within Pondville, there's a lot of history as well. So the idea of the trail having value for recreation, but also for history in this area is of great interest, and something that we would like to do is to try to incorporate things like maybe placards, informational maps and things like that, in terms of our vision for this trail overall.
Can I just pose a question? Has any discussion been given or had on the fact of not pursuing the King Philip name, and in fact naming it in honor of the Wampanoag tribe?
Yeah.
It has been brought up. So the reason that we're sort of leaning away from using Metacomet Greenway or Wampanoag Greenway is that we want to, and the reason that we originally had thought of King Philip wasn't necessarily to honor the individual. It was more for the region. Initially started out as, Norfolk, Rentham, Plainville, and then later on we had added a very small portion of Walpole and North Attleboro, but we sort of felt like, since the majority of the trail would be in the King Philip School District region, that what might make sense, so it's to help people locate it if they're not from the area. So what we're leaning towards now might be something more like the Norfolk County Old Colony Greenway or something along those lines.
Yeah, the only reason I bring up like the historical context is because first of all, it's great to hear about all this activity. I think it's fantastic. I grew up in Rhode Island, so there was a plethora of options for bike trails in Rhode Island, and they were all, for the most part, interconnected. So there is true value in that. So I applaud you for doing that. I think the nice thing about the option to honor the Native American tribe is because there is a significant rich history with the Wampanoag people. And I certainly don't think it could be as generic as the Wampanoag name or the Metacomet name, but we could dig a little bit deeper in the historical aspect and actually do some publicity with this. I think you're going to organically, with the historic plaque or the history plaques and things like that, there will be some sort of a community fundraise for this. I know that they did that in Rhode Island and they were successful with the various historical associations, but you could pull some really good, quite honestly, press on this and notoriety, and it could be something that could be built into the future curriculums of the various school systems if we went about this in a very strategic way to incorporate that rich Native American history that spans all of these areas. I also know that I've heard and this is just hearsay at this point, but I've also heard that they are considering changing the name of the high school. So if there's a shred of truth to that, let's definitely stay away from the King Philip, just because signage costs a lot of money. But I'm in support of it. It's exciting, but I would love to see a little bit more history, and maybe some homage paid to the the tribal nation in that sense.
That was part of like Zach's intent with reaching out to the tribal contact there, and what's the proper naming and spelling, and is there other contextual things we don't know about before we go off willy-nilly and call it Metacomet or Wampanoag? There might be other aspects to the region that might be more valued to the tribal nation as well as from a historical standpoint. So Zach, you said that he was kind of looking into that a little bit to get back to you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So anyways,
that's good. Those are good thoughts, Charlie. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Charlie, thank you. And we'll certainly, we're certainly not finalized on a name, and we're probably further away every day that goes on than getting closer, but hopefully we'll get it figured out soon. Peter mentioned the feasibility study. That's kind of the next big step that we need. So eventually we're going to I guess plan to approach the CPC in town, let them know our plan, and see if they can, I don't know if they would necessarily apply for the grant, or if that's something as the group that we would do, and we'd look for the town to match a portion of it. That's kind of still to be determined. But that would be our next step, and that would sort of help us figure out what the cost would be, so we can figure out if we are going to pursue a paved versus, like a crushed stone or, rock-based path, that sort of thing, where we're going to need intersections and street crossings, which are pretty clear, but we also might need a few bridges in the Norfolk side. So that's kind of something that we'll lean heavily on them for. Just some background on the group. We've had 2 meetings. So June was our first meeting, and our last one was last week. So again, relatively new. We're summertime, and with COVID and everything, it's been not easy getting everybody together, and hopefully in the next few months, we'll really be able to start planning a little bit more and getting a little more organized. And I would certainly invite any of you, if you'd like. I think you have my email from Will adding me to this meeting, but our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 18th. And, we'd love to have any of you get involved if you'd be interested in that sort of thing. So
this is Ann Proto. I have a couple of questions. First off, the time of the meeting on August 18th. That's a simple one, I think, probably.
Yep, 7 p.m.
Okay, great. So I'm wondering on three things, and I'll just name them and you can address them in any order you like. First off, are there any unknown owners of land that the rail goes through? I think I remember that from the past, but I actually could be confusing it with something else. My next question is accessibility, and I'm assuming that whatever you're thinking of putting down would be an accessible path. Only you said that Rich McCarthy's involved, so I'm sort of figuring that is a given, but I just wanted to ask. And then the last item I wanted to ask about is the Mass Trails Grant Program. If you've looked into that, or if David, and I can never say his last name, but the same David you were speaking of, if he mentioned anything to you about that.
Sure. So we have no unknown owners, but we do have an owner whose property is going to be pretty significant, and we're working on a way to sort of work through or around that.
Is that in Norfolk?
That's correct. And one of the objectives that each of the town sort of branches right now are doing is to try to find the property owners. We don't like to use the name abutters. We like to call them trail neighbors. But we do want to, it's important to me, and I tried to stress this at the meeting, that we notify these people who are trail neighbors so that they don't read in the paper one day, or hopefully they don't log in and see this meeting on the Norfolk TV channel and say, hey, what do you mean there's going to be a trail in my backyard? We'd like to try to add a personal touch by contacting them in some fashion before that, but at the same time, we do need to sort of try to move forward I'll get back to the accessibility, but the Mass Trails Grant, I believe that those applications are due at the beginning of February. So obviously we weren't organized and didn't have time to prepare for this past year, but
they'll be opened in the fall. The 2021 Mass Trails application opens this fall.
Okay, and I believe they're due February, sometime in February. Or maybe that's the deadline. Maybe you can.
Yeah, I mean it opens this fall. I'm sure there's time, but it's a great. It's really a great program.
Yeah, that's the Mass Trails, and also with DOT. DOT has a program as well. Those are probably the two biggest that we're going to pull through. The Solomon Foundation is another one that we'll probably try to utilize. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that group or not, but everything that I've read and from talking to different people who have put a lot of work, if you talk to anybody who's ever worked on a rail trail, program, it's taken, I don't think anyone has been built in probably less than 10 years. So hopefully I'm alive and I get to use this someday, but hopefully that's not an issue. But we know it's going to take some time. There's definitely going to be phases. It's going to be a slow process. But I think, from people that I've talked to in the area, in the town, I think we're going to get hopefully some overwhelmingly good community support. And I think we already have that support, like Peter mentioned, from the MAPC and some of the other state organizations. So, and for accessibility, DOT is really pushing for these trails to be paved and more accessible, and that's our intent. And we think that, you know, we shouldn't have much of a problem with that funding. So.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of rail trails. So
Yeah.
actually a couple of houses ago, that was what one of my criteria was, that it be along a rail trail. Or
Yeah.
It's much
so,
more kind of accepted now as a benefit from a real estate standpoint and a
Yeah.
quality of life standpoint. And so, you know, kind of the controversy over that is a little bit less now. But to Zach's point, you know, one of our efforts is to start and continue communicating with folks who would become neighbors of the trail, as it were, like myself. Yeah, Zach covered all your questions. I think yeah, all the owners are identified. There's obviously none of these things are easy per se, but there are options in terms of working with owners, like easements and things like that. But you know, right now it's all kind of, we're trying to sort out kind of what the best approach is for these things.
I'm glad they're all identified.
Yeah. Accessibility, I agree with you guys. That's super important. Because of the length of time and the complexity involved with piecing trails together, it's a good idea to kind of look at it as an evolution versus a big bang kind of rollout. And the sooner that trails can get started using, so like if you get an easement for a portion, or the town acquires a portion, start using it to the best of the ability and then add to it as you go. And then slowly, little by little, the trail improves and grows, extends, expands. So I think we're trying to take that view as well, to kind of step by step, kind of let this thing build and start becoming a useful trail to the community.
You know, I think it should also be noted that with the challenges that we as a community are experiencing, and so many other things with COVID-19, you know, there has been an explosion for an interest in outdoor activities. So, you know, there is a shortage of bicycles, you know, until early fall. The Franklin Bike Shop indicated to me the other day when I was buying a bike for my son that they can't get bikes in and keep them in stock. And the same thing with stuff at Bass Pro Shops. They can't keep it on the shelves because everybody, thankfully, are heading outdoors, hopefully maintaining social distance. That being said, I think there is probably a tremendous amount of public interest that you all should try to capitalize on. And so whether it be through continued meetings or getting on Norfolk Public TV to talk about this interest, because I do know that a number of families have come to me and said, you know, what are your thoughts? Where can we ride our bikes? We don't feel safe riding on Marshall Street. You know, technically we're not supposed to be on school property in the parking lots. There's an overwhelming interest that I think, you know, with a little bit of good press, you know, with the newspapers and the local TV, you know, this could go really a long way. I would also encourage, if the town meeting in the fall is virtual, or hopefully if it's in person, that you guys have a table and see if you can set up just to do the awareness, because to your point, it is an evolution. And I do think that if the town and the residents of the various towns are pushing their elected officials that they want this, and they're hearing that, you know, the evolution will be a little bit quicker than normally expected, I think.
I agree. Thank you. And again, we're very eager to get this out there. We just want to make sure we dot some I's and cross some T's before we.
Absolutely.
But I agree, and we'd love to. I think that's a great suggestion about town meeting, and so.
Yeah.
I would put in there just to everyone. It's really an awesome group they've put together. I've been to the first two meetings, and there's not only people from our town, there's Rentham Rec members involved, Plainville, Walpole, North Attleboro. I would definitely encourage all of you, if you're interested, to either get in contact with Zach or Peter or myself and get you on the distribution list. If anything, it's a great opportunity to kind of meet other towns and what they're doing. I personally think this trail would offer exponential benefits to the residents of Norfolk. I mean, it's something we're missing. They've even brought in from the outside a gentleman named Craig who has been in almost every one of these rail trail developments throughout the state. And he said I think something along the lines called our area a dead zone or the dead zone. It's probably the only area in the state that's lacking this. So we have an opportunity right now to do it. They mentioned a bunch of obstacles and things we have to do, but it all starts with public support. So I think that's why this is great here. We can all get behind it. And we can kind of tell our friends and neighbors and start that organic word of mouth. And that's where it all starts. It's better to hear it from a friend and a neighbor and with a friendly smile than it is to hear it from, someone who's coming to put something behind your house without you even knowing about it. So I think this is really great. And I think we all look forward to working with you too as we move forward through this hopefully short but probably long process. So, if you guys have anything else, we'd be happy to hear it. If not, definitely can let you guys get on with your evenings.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Really
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'd love to have you guys come back, honestly, and maybe in a couple of meetings to hear what the tribal nation has said. I do want to be really mindful of that. And I also do think too, hopefully if those conversations progress nicely and there is a historical element that can be built into this, I do think that, there is a family foundation that's offices are in Foxborough that, is very supportive of these kinds of things. So I think you could really build a very strong support of corporate social responsibility as well as, private philanthropy in this, which I would be happy to help you guys with, because that's what I do for a living. So look forward to having you back, giving us an update on what the tribal nation says, and we'll go from there.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so if no one has any other questions on that, I think that's going to be pretty exciting as we move forward, something to keep an eye on. Liza, are you there? I think I see you down there.
Hi.
Hi, all right. So we held off on the committee reorganizing until you got here just because you're the clerk and you're a member of the committee. So I think we should move forward with that. So every year we have to reappoint our positions. So there are really three that we need to be concerned about. So the chairperson, the CPC representative, and the clerk. So before we do that, I know there's kind of a few changes that I think Ann and I had discussed making to either the clerk's role or some of the clerical functions of the commission. So Ann, I don't know if you wanted to speak about that at all or.
Sure, I'm happy to. So as we all know, we had to do some budget cuts for this year. And looking at our budget, we had $2,000 in the budget for a secretary for the commission. And I spoke to Will about taking that out of the budget and putting it toward actual recreation work rather than someone taking notes and doing the minutes. I just thought that, I felt that that was, I still do feel that that was the best choice for recreation. So we still have money. I mean, if someone's very adamantly against it, we can probably rearrange things so that money could go toward the secretarial work for the commission, but it would mean decreased hours in the office.
So my thought on this was, we're public servants, whether we like it or not, whether we think of ourselves as that. And in these tough budgetary times in town, I figured that we can make the sacrifice as a commission to probably essentially do our own notes. So that could be a function of the clerk. It could be something we rotate on, where each of us does it for one meeting. So we'd probably each end up doing it once or twice, probably about 2 or 3 times a year. Like Ann mentioned, I mean, we could opt to not do that. But I figured rather than taking away from our programming and Kathy's time and Ann's time in the office, that we could step up as a commission and try to kind of fill that gap. So does anyone have a thought or opinion on that?
I think that's the perfect idea. I hope everybody heard me.
I heard you loud and clear.
I do.
Perfect.
Yep, not a problem.
We can switch it each time. I don't care. It's normally I'm the one at meetings that takes notes. So
Sure. So if no one has any problem with that, so I would say we could set up a rotation then, if that's probably the best way forward, and just go from there. So
I'll do tonight.
awesome. And then we'll put something out for the next meeting and just kind of get it going from there.
Yeah, and I think it will just be really important, Will, that like if we could really set the schedule for like a 12-month rolling cycle ahead, just because like I know for like my own self, like our travel, my international and national travel is grounded, but my national travel could be opening up depending on where it might be. And so like if we have a schedule of like the specific day that I or anybody else is taking notes, they know that they can't book travel, so we're not shuffling, or Charlie's not here and we need to get somebody to take notes. And so maybe we can talk about that offline, but how we can possibly do a better job with scheduling and making sure that those meetings are scheduled well in advance in that sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think we could probably set the year at once. I would just say put someone first, and then if there's an identifiable conflict at some point, we could just swap and just find someone that they can swap into that spot. So I think that's a nice, easy, simple way we can help out here. All right, so having that decided, we can do the appointments. So I'm willing to do the chair role again. I enjoy doing it. If anyone would like to do it, feel free to let me know. I won't take offense to it. So
I second your motion to make yourself the chair again. So congratulations.
no one
you did
else
a great
want-
job.
I appreciate that. I try, and but like I said, I really am trying to keep this collaborative, and well, the name itself doesn't mean anything, so we all do it together. So I will make that motion to reappoint myself as chair of the Recreation Commission.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Clerk.
Charlie, was that you who seconded? I wasn't.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And that's actually the other thing that we need to make sure someone can get the recording of these meetings, because I know I probably will miss some key things as we go through meetings. I don't know where, I've never seen a recording of our meetings.
They're on YouTube. They're on YouTube.
Oh, that's not good.
I do send them to NCTV, and I have them as well, so I can forward them. And if there's a schedule, I can easily forward to whoever is doing the notes.
Yeah, that'd be good, because I'd probably be better off doing them, listening to the meeting through versus actually taking notes during the meeting. So, all right, clerk. So Liza, do you have interest again, or you want to pass the torch, or what? Radio silence.
Hold on.
Hold on.
I think that's a vote of yes, she wants to do it again.
And that's what I'm going to take it as.
I asked her to unmute. Maybe.
Yeah. Can you
there
hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, I'm all set with it. I have no problem with taking on that role again.
All right, so I will make a motion to reappoint Liza as the committee clerk.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No one? All right. And that leaves us with CPC. So I've done it for the last, I think, 2 years. I'm willing to do it again. I enjoy it, but I am the chair. So if someone else wants to have a more active role or do it, feel free.
I'm willing to take it over at some point in the future. It's just right now I'm not really going to be able to because transition for children, but I will. I know that I said I was going to do it, and then I discovered how bad it was for me for timing. But at some point in the future, yes, but not right now.
No, that's not a problem. I mean, Kim, Liza, Charlie.
No, it's not something I can take on
Yeah.
now.
Will, I think, not that I don't want to do it. I worry about how overstretched I am with my own little boys and whatnot, and T-ball, and hopefully, God willing, we can start playing sports again. But I do think there is some value of having the chair of the committee be that representative, because you know the pulse of where we are as a committee. You're in frequent contact with Anne and her team, and it does make a natural, progression for that role to be also that role. But again, like I would love to be able to do it, but I'm just worried about when work returns to some sense of normalcy, what my life will be like. So I have to bow out for this particular year.
Okay.
And Will, forgive my not knowing what it is. What is it?
Okay, so that
What does that mean?
I probably
That's a
should
fair
explain. I
question.
apologize. Absolutely. So every year in town we have, I believe it's 1% tax on our property, or surcharge on our property that gets put into a fund called the Community Preservation Account. So that account can be spent on kind of a wide range of things, but in specifically open space, recreation, affordable housing, and historical. So the makeup, there's a separate committee called the Community Preservation Committee that's in charge of overseeing that fund. And essentially what their job is petitioners will come in to discuss different projects that they want funded within that broad framework. And then the committee evaluates those proposals and decides to put it forward towards town meeting, or votes to kind of kill them, so to speak, or not allocate funding from the Community Preservation Committee. So
Gotcha.
as one of the committees in town that falls under that branch as recreation and open space, we get an appointed representative from our committee and our commission on their committee every year. So it's a 1-year appointment. There's, I think it's 9 members. There's 4 members that are appointed by the select board, I believe. There's 1 member from historical, 1 member from the housing authority, 1 from historical, 1 from planning board, conservation commission, and then we make up the last one. So, I've been sitting on that for the last 2 years. But if you have some interest in it, I'm more than welcome to have you come take a look. Or
No. I recommend you.
well, it's going to be so. Mark, I'll tell you whenever you're interested. Just let me know. I'll take you. We can come to the meeting again, get you up to speed. I'm more than happy to turn it over when you're ready.
And Kim, just so you know, it is fascinating. I mean, like if you want to see where we're going to do new stuff in town,
Yeah.
it's the one that you're going to find out so much new about this town.
Yeah, and I do like, I like to hear new things that are going on, but I'm not ready for any I'm just starting out here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's a great committee. There's a wide range. There's a couple new appointees. I'm one of the newest. There's some people that have been on there, I think, since it started, and they know everything that has ever happened in town. They can go back to the year, whatever it was, 2000, 2001, whatever it is, and kind of off the top of their head discuss what they did back then. But it's going to be an important thing for us going forward with talking about fields, not only field repair that they helped us with, but expanding fields and all those sorts of things. So it'll be an important role for us going forward.
Can I just add that Cindy Andrade is the chairperson, and she's one of the people that have been around for quite some time, but Cindy's also served on the planning board in the past and conservation, and she's really knowledgeable. I think she's just she's easy to work with, and I think she does a very good job.
Yeah, it's well run. I never have to worry about any questions when I go there because they discuss everything. They know the right questions to ask when anyone comes in. So it really is cool. So I then make a motion to reappoint myself as our CPC appointee for the year. I need a second.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
All those opposed? Mark has stepped away, but we'll see. Mark, would you like to vote yes or no on the CPC?
I'm sorry. Yes.
All right, awesome. All right, just to make sure we have the full count on the record. All right, that takes care of that for now. All right, so programming updates. So Ann wanted to get kind of an update on the concerts on the Common, and also a new idea that I guess we had thrown around about the drive-in theater. So Ann, feel free to.
So I wanted to speak to people about the concerts. So we got in touch with Ken Do Rosario, Ayla Brown, and FSPA, and they were all willing, but I must say that I do not feel that we can hold concerts and be in compliance with the state mandate. So I am recommending to not have any concerts. The maximum crowd size is 100, and I think any one of those concerts will bring more than that. So I think we would be out of compliance, and I'm sure no one is willing, but I'm not willing to do that. So if anyone has any opinion on that, just let me know.
No, I think that's the right call, Ann.
Oh, yeah.
I just knowing what I'm knowing and hearing about the town, what's going on this summer, it's just not even possible with school gatherings and college gatherings and outbreaks, and sitting on this call yesterday with the school committee and the stress that they're under. We don't need to put our teachers and staff at the schools in any harder of a position than they're already walking into in 6 weeks if they walk into it. So I'm all in favor of not doing it.
Okay. All right. So the concerts are off. We will notify everyone. So one alternative to concerts that some towns are doing are drive-in movies. So I did look into that a little bit further.
That's awesome. That would be fun.
So the cost of a drive-in movie to rent the screen, projector, sort of, the package, the guys come in, set it up, etc., is about $1,500. That's just for the equipment. It's another $400 approximately for the licensing of the movie. Any outdoor movie needs to be licensed. And there's only 2 licensors. One is Swank and one is Criteria. Criteria does like the Fox movies. If you really want a Star Wars movie, that's who you'd call. Otherwise it's Swank, and their movies are $375 to $450 depending on the movie. So it's a $2,000 endeavor. And that is for a, let me see, I want to be accurate here. That is for a 32-foot screen. So to give you an idea, I don't know, have any of you seen the drive-in movies over at Patriots Place? No. Oh, no. So that's a 40-foot screen. That's like the next size up. I mean, a 32-foot screen is a good size screen. And if one was to go to a 40-foot screen, which is really it's really massive. I mean, it starts 12 feet up, and then it's 40 feet. That would probably be we're probably looking at close to double. It might be, we might be able to do it for, $3,200, or $3,500, but it's a lot more expensive. So I talked to 2 companies, and they both recommended the 32-foot or something very close to that.
Is that a one-time use, Ann?
One-time use.
And
if you show the movie twice, you pay more.
Yeah. So do you think there's a way that if we went the larger screen, they might cut us a deal like where we could do 2 different nights?
No. I'm sorry to be such a negative Nelly on this, but anytime I've ever dealt with outdoor licensing and Swank and Criteria, they're really not flexible. I think if you might, you want something for a series of times. I mean, and they do give a deal. I mean, it's not like they charge double if you want to show it twice.
Yeah, no, I'm worried about like, what if like there's such an overwhelming show of support and desire to go to this thing and we can't.
Well, I think that's a reasonable, certainly that would be wonderful, and that would be, but I think,
Or the other option is you could do this. You could charge a nominal fee per car to cover some of the costs that the recreation department would incur, but then also to put it towards the teachers allocation fund or some sort of a special fund that, and cause it as a fundraiser. Now, we probably wouldn't be able to do that. We'd have to partner with the PTA, but I know on the school committee call yesterday, they're going to be calling you, if they haven't already called you, to talk about support throughout the school year. So
they have called.
yeah.
So going back to outdoor movies, outdoor movies are not a good fundraiser because of the licensing and how much they charge. And as soon as if I start to charge someone, then they take 50% of that too.
Oh, gotcha.
It's just, they will even say, yeah, outdoor movies, it's really not the fundraiser. You might connect it with another fundraiser and you might get more people to the other fundraiser, but the outdoor movie isn't the fundraiser. So,
and where's the location? Where are you thinking for the location?
So that's a great question.
The church?
We really don't. The only two places that I could think of that might work are well, maybe three places, but none of them we own. So
okay.
Holmes Field is a great location. And they're very generous. I'm always a little uncomfortable asking, people for favors, but they are usually very generous. The other lot that I was thinking of, and I sort of have to figure it out, it's very hard to picture, 150 cars, is the St. Jude's parking lot. It's a very square
that's what I was thinking.
Parking lot.
Uh-huh.
So that might work. And then the other thought I had, and I think Will might have had it. We had talked about the MBTA lot, but we don't own that.
That lot's in terrible shape.
Okay. So some towns own their MBTA lot, but we don't.
Yeah, and also too, you got the train issue that you've got going on, right? And I would be happy to call the Holmes family. If you and I can make that request jointly if you wanted to, or I can.
You can do it. I'm not good at asking.
I would be happy to do that because you could fit a lot more cars in that field. Yeah. And let's be honest, Norfolk Days ain't happening this year.
Yeah, so I can actually give a little insight. So when I talked with Ann, I had mentioned Holmes Field. I thought that was probably the best option, although the St. Jude parking lot was not on the table at the time. That's also a decent option. I know from being in Lions, obviously Community Day has come and gone for this year. And I can tell you the next big event the Holmes would typically put on would be the Haunted Train Ride. And on my last Lions meeting, they're going to have it, but they're not going to have it there. They're going to do, from what I'm understanding, sort of a drive-through one they're going to try to do at the Freeman, where you kind of come in one end, drive out the other, and kind of have people. It was a rough idea that they're coming up with, but either way, they couldn't use the trains. So
everyone in masks, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, exactly. So
interestingly, Tara Spellman emailed me today and asked me if I had a contact for a drive-in movie as an alternative to the train ride.
So maybe they're off that idea now. It was very rough. It was basically they knew they weren't going to be using the trains over at the Holmes Field, which is my point, is that it might be open, as they haven't really hosted anything this year, and they typically do. So I would be in favor of trying to secure that. In terms of the funding piece, I don't have an issue. I think, Ann, you had mentioned maybe in like off Charlie's ideas, charging a nominal fee to a car coming in and to cover some of the cost, and then maybe handing out like a bag of candy or something with something.
So I can look into that further, but the amount is, if you start to charge, the licensor will charge us double.
I have a question. What if we don't charge
for parking?
but donations are accepted to support the PTA for this upcoming school year or something. There are workarounds that we can figure out if we want to try to make this a community event and everybody drives by and puts a donation in the box. I mean,
I'm fine with any of that. As
Yes, I
long
mean,
as
if
we're
you-
not breaking the rules, then that's fine.
and
depending on.
we know you don't like to break the rules. We would never put you in that position.
So,
it dep-
Anne,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, that's okay. I just had a couple questions. So it's not something that we're trying to raise money for, or are we going to try to cover it, or is it something that the town takes care of? So we wouldn't be charging. How does that? I just want to understand.
So recreation, we're pretty much self-funded. The town pays for my salary. They pay for half of Kathy's salary. Everything else is self-funded. It has to pay for itself.
Gotcha.
So office, everything. And so, but in our regular year, I don't know how to even say it anymore.
Like the budget, basically, like the budget.
So, well, we don't even, we bring money in, and what we bring in, part of what we bring in goes toward programs that are free or a lower cost that benefit the community. And that's where this would fit in.
Yeah.
So I always get a little hesitant about using the term budget because I automatically think of the operating budget, which is the general fund, and we don't use the general fund. No, we have we have $2,000 for the general fund to use for just other things.
I'm just saying, I have 4 kids, and as a mom, I've been desperate for things to do. And we tried to go to the Patriot Place, and it's been, every movie I tried to is sold out. You can't even get there. I don't even know when the secret tickets went on sale, because they're just, I can't even get them. So I think that this is such a great idea, because parents like me struggling, my little 7-year-old dying she would love it. You know, we thought about going to Mendon for her. So I'm just saying, like, as a mom, huge yay for that.
Okay.
What's the money left over in the budget that we have? I know that's a loaded
left over. So what I did, and so the tricky part with the recreation revolving fund, as you know, is that at the end of the year, I cannot have more than $10,000 that is unallocated. But especially because of this year, and I've never done this in the past, but I am able to do it because to pay Kathy, I have to have that money to pay Kathy. Now, every year I bring that money in and have for 20 years. This is we're in a new time though. So I went to Todd and I said, I want to make sure I have that money. I don't know where things are going. Can I allocate that money toward Kathy's salary? So I absolutely know I have it no matter what. And the answer was yes. So that's the money that we have is that money. And then we do have some others. And since I did that, we have some income from the summer. I mean, our summer programs have gone really well. They're certainly very limited to what we have done in the past. But we have had 5 weeks of the outdoor programming. It's been full every week. We had 3 weeks set up for mini sports and super sports, and due to popular demand, we expanded that to 5 weeks. And I have to say, the kids are doing a phenomenal job about keeping their masks on and doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's really, I thought, they're kids, so yes, they need a reminder. But I have to tell you, to see 18 4 to 6-year-olds running around with their masks on, not even thinking twice about it, and they're doing it, and it's great. We also have 1 classroom program a week that we do at the town hall, and it's worked out really well. The room is nice and large. When we could only have 10 in a group, I had 10 individual tables set up, all easily 6 feet apart, more closer to 7 or 8 feet apart. And now that we can have a little larger group, I have 13 this week, but still it's all socially distanced, and we go outside for snack. And so again, the programs are far fewer, but the programs we are running are doing well. So we will have income from the summer as well. So paying for this, we could also look for sponsors if anyone has ideas for asking for sponsors.
Yeah, so this is sort of my question is what are we looking at for timing on this? Because
Yeah, that was my
it's
question.
a lot to get together between securing the location, securing the movie, the screen, advertising, funding. And you want to also have it at a good time where people are around, although not that people are anywhere right now other than down the Cape. What are we thinking for that?
I'm certainly open to dates. I was sort of, what was in my mind was sort of the at very end of August, like August 30th, that kind of like a Sunday evening. It starts to get a little bit darker. I'm not quite sure where we are with school yet. But it could be a Friday evening. I do know this, drive-in movies right now, there are two companies that have been recommended. And so I speak to rec directors pretty regularly, and Funflix is the company. It's actually a little bit less, but it's about the same price, but they're the company that does the programming at Patriots Place. People they're very easy to deal with. And the other company is as well, but so those are the two options, but both of them have said we're booked. I mean, if you're thinking about a weekend, like there might be a weekend in September right now that we could do. So, I mean, some of it would be asking what's available. Funflix, I mean, they don't just have one screen that goes out. They have lots of screens and lots of people. So it just depends on their availability. I can tell you that I mean, I think trying to do anything sooner than 3 weeks would probably not be the most beneficial. Plus, it would put us sort of really at that time that a lot of families do go to the Cape, or, and families are traveling limited distance. But the end of August Norfolk is usually very quiet at the end of sort of middle of August, end of August, or it has been in the. So.
I mean, I like that time. I like that generally around where you would normally start school time. I don't know if that's really going to happen because people are kind of around, hanging around sometimes.
Yeah.
But it seems a little, it's probably ambitious given everything that we've discussed. I mean, I'm certainly willing to put that out there as a time, but it sounds like we would need to figure out if we can use the location and then confirm that works with whoever we're renting the equipment from, and that would probably be the first step, right?
Which to find out if the equipment's it's the package is available. They come and they set it up. Charlie, do you know what the plan for starting school is?
Yesterday's call was they're voting on the plan, the 3-stage plan that they're proposing: remote, hybrid model, or completely full return to school next week. And then that would be approved, by the various hierarchies that need to approve it. But they've also taken 10 days off of, the school year. So that part was a little confusing, and some people that I was texting with on the call, so they're not sure if the school year is starting actually, in fact, 10 days later.
Yeah.
So, I think end of August or even in September, again, like I don't think it's a terrible idea if it's even in the fall. I mean, the fact of the matter is like families are still going to be struggling to find things to do with their children.
Yeah.
And I do know that just, the 20 families that live in my neighborhood would be all about this, whether it was in October or September or the last weekend of August. And so, I do think what we should try to do is identify a date, because the reality will be, I imagine, if things do go to a remote schedule and there's a harder press for towns to provide recreation or things, it will be harder to book this company.
Yeah.
Also, too, take into account if it's a little bit cooler, that's not necessarily a bad thing either from
No.
another perspective.
It's actually, I was actually thinking that would be a good thing because, you know, you have the windows down and the mosquitoes aren't coming in if it's a little cooler at night.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
you know, there's nothing wrong with bringing a blanket and putting it in the car and being, you know, being a little chilly and, you know, getting warm than, you know, sweating and wanting to get out of the car, because we really don't want people to be getting out of the cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how is the audio piped in? Do you tune in via an FM channel?
You can. There are two different options, but that's the option. It's an FM transmitter that they provide.
Gotcha.
So I like it. I think I think the fall. I tend to like the fall too. I think from what I know, I don't know how many traditional fall activities are really going to take place. Yeah, football, hockey, lacrosse, it's all up in the air right now. And if those don't happen, people are going to be looking for things to do, and they're not going to be down the Cape because they have school and it's colder out. So it could be the way to go. Plus, it gives us more time to get this together, do it the right way. Because I think Charlie's right on, and Kim, I think you're right on. I think people are going to love it. I think it's going to be a big hit in town.
So why don't I find out about available dates, and I will also find out about if we need 2 nights of the movie and things like that. And I will try to see what the deals are.
Yeah, and you know, and I would be happy to be on that call with that vendor with you, just to get an idea, because I'm just thinking like we could get some sponsors for this if it is in October, you know, where we say, look, we're going to have 3 different shows, and these are the 3 different nights, and it's brought to you by XYZ, and, you know, really make a thing of this. You know, we decided not to do the fireworks, this is something that we want to make sure that every family has an opportunity to attend, I think, if we can. And, you know, obviously movie choice is also very critical in this, I think.
That was going to be my next question. I'm glad you brought it up.
You know, we won't tell them.
Definitely critical.
Yeah. We'll all ask our kids what movies they want to watch. We'll put out a Survey Monkey. You know, but again, like, you know what? That could be again to build on the sense of community, right? Which I think is so critically important right now. I mean, it was last night's call to school committee was done as about as well as they could have done it. I mean, there's so much unknown, you know, but the overall consensus I think in town is there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of people are upset that salaries are being cut, you know, services are being cut, and, you know, there's just so much unknown. That being said, we could have some fun with this, right? Like when we get the list of movies, if we narrow it down to 10, we could put it to a town-wide vote. Like, you know, what movie do you want at your drive-in theater? And you know, we choose 5, you know, that are going to be great movies regardless, and that's how we go for it. So
the only tricky part with that, again, is that you have to make sure they have it. You have to reserve.
Yeah, no, we would need to get that list of.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, but you have to reserve it. Like, I don't know that they're I got the impression that, like, they're not unlimited.
Oh, so they don't have an unlimited number of licenses for, like, I don't know.
Right. So
yeah.
Just when I was talking to Swank today, this is what I threw out for movies, and it's not, you know, I'm old, so I don't know. So I can tell you they do not have Trolls. That is not available for outdoor licensing. Mm-hmm. So I asked about Arctic Dog, Sonic, Pets 2, Frozen 2, and Angry Birds 2. And those are all movies they had. So, and I didn't go any further because I just wanted to get an idea. And all of those range between $375 and $450.
What about Star Wars?
Star Wars is through Criterion, and I can ask them. I didn't ask them. So
I just think it would be really cool. I mean, look, I'm an 80s kid, right? Like, I think it would be really wild. It would also be really wild to see if they have Back to the Future. Like, there are some anniversaries that are associated with some really big nostalgic Hollywood movies. So, you know, if you did like the original Star Wars and then like one of the newer ones, that could be a draw for both parents and kids, right? Like you're catering to
Yeah.
both. I will undoubtedly bring my children, and I know my wife will be right there with us with whatever movie we put forward, but God knows I would much rather watch Star Wars or one of the newer Star Wars than, Angry Birds 2.
Yeah.
But
So Criteria does have I just wrote some names down from their website. They have Ferdinand, Rio 2, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Long Haul, and Eddie the Eagle. I don't know if you know Eddie the Eagle. So I didn't see Back to the Future, but I didn't go through all of them either.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
They have hundreds and hundreds.
All right. Well, why don't
And
we
they
do
definitely, and Criteria definitely has Star Wars. That's
Yeah.
who you call if you want a Star Wars movie. So what Star Wars movie should I be asking for, Charlie?
Oh, I mean, I'm not going to be the bold one to make the recommendations, but I'm a big
It's Rogue One. Don't bother. Rogue One.
What, Rogue One?
Yes.
Okay. I'll
I
ask.
think, I think The Empire Strikes Back is great,
Oh.
So clearly Mark is the new gen on the Star Wars.
Oh no, I'm old school. That's why I love Rogue One, because it's the best of both worlds. It's both new and it's all the old stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I think why don't we do this? Why don't you reach out to get some dates, and then why don't you and I have an offline conversations, and I can talk to the Holmes family, and I'm also a parishioner at St. Jude's, so if we need to talk to the pastor there, we can certainly talk to the pastor there. I think the Holmes family field is probably better from a traffic perspective.
Yeah, I think it's a better field. I also think it slopes up a little bit, so it really might be an advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of picturing it seems, not that I'm an expert in drive-in movies, but it seems sort of like the ideal place.
Yeah.
But now that I know that there might, there's a possibility of getting sponsorships and things, maybe having a series of, 2 or, I want to say 3. It's pretty ambitious if you're looking at, almost $6,000. But if there's sponsorships, that's something that would be really, I think would be a lot of fun.
So I just have 2 thoughts. I love the idea of a couple movies, having a couple, because I have 3 girls and they're not really Star Wars fans. So, maybe more princessy, geared towards little, maybe Star Wars, geared toward the boys, and the 80s parents. So I think the series, it would be sort of everybody. So I love that. The second thing is Kelly Holmes plays on my field hockey club, so I know the family very well. So if Charlie, if you need help, if you want me to, I know them very well. I'm sure you know them too. They're lovely. But I'm happy to speak to anybody about that. And I love it. And I think that's awesome. And I'll do anything to help.
Yeah. And let's not forget that I like the suggested donation to support the, parent teacher association, or I don't know what they call it.
Or the rec department.
Yeah.
Department, or split it 50-50, or the rec to fund to support the school system that was talked about a little bit last night.
Right. Yeah.
So look, I think the reality of it is we all know the situation in the town's finances. We all are aware and probably worry about the burden that's going to be placed on all families throughout the fall and the year, and we're going to have to come to those families' aid. And we're going to have to figure out as a community to rally around those families that are not as fortunate as some of the other families in the town. So we can do this, and I won't say publicly, but I'm committed to raising that money to make sure that we can get those multiple movie nights there. I won't tell you what dollar amount I'm thinking, but we'll be able to do something.
Okay. I mean, it's
Anyone
not
that can do it,
like
it's
we
you.
don't have money. So.
Oh yeah, no, we have money, but I'm also like a big movie geek, so I want the 40-foot screen. 32 is nice, but let's also not
Okay, so I just have to say this: if we got the 40-foot screen, people would be in awe. Like it would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm all there. I'm there for that one, if at all possible. But
I mean, I have to be honest with you. I was hoping the construction that was going on off of it's off of Route 115. It's like further down, like as you head towards Walpole. There, it looks like they're building a parking lot. I was hopeful.
Oh, that's the rec. Those are the rec fields off of 1A.
Yeah, no, like if you take a left at like the Rodale Food Mart and where the hydro seeding company is. Yeah, 1A. What are those? What are those?
That's 6. If you go up there and on the right.
Yeah, what is that?
That's going to be the 60 acres of recreation fields.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Lights?
Yeah, it's so timing is everything. If we had, if Pond Street had been built just a little bit later, they could have put lights in. They could have done all sorts of things. So that is the land that is the same type of land that we're looking for to expand at Pond Street. But Walpole happened to have like 60 acres of beautiful.
Oh, so that's Walpole. I thought I was still. Please, everyone, forgive me. I've only lived in Norfolk for like 3.5 years, so like, I can tell you where to go in Rhode Island to the beach, where there won't be one person on the beach in the middle of the day, where all the hidden beach spots are. But I didn't know that was Walpole. I thought that was still Norfolk.
Well, it is. Believe me, I wish it is right over the line. It is. It couldn't really be much closer.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a tease for a rec director. When that belongs
seriously.
to someone else. I have to tell you, I do admire as I drive by it. I'm like, oh, those are really nice lights.
All right, well,
we'll get there.
Yeah, I'll commit to talking, and we can certainly connect offline too. But let's try to figure out a way to get the 40-foot screen. Let's figure out sometime in October to do this. I mean, I think it's just a huge win, and let's rally around the community and do some good with it too. So. I'm really excited about this.
Okay.
This is
Awesome.
Donna. Can I speak?
Absolutely, Donna, go ahead.
Sure.
Okay. I have attended the Flicks at Patriot Place when Fun Flicks brought the big screen and there were 2 speakers and you brought your own blanket and sat, come and go when you want. I was wondering with their screen, for our location, is there a dimension of the arrangement of cars? Are you looking for, if it's a rectangle, is the screen at the short end versus the long side?
So I actually did ask both the companies if they had a recommendation, and they really said no. It really depends on the shape of the field. I'm picturing Holmes Field, and I think
The building, or
I'm sorry, what?
to which side of their building? To the right?
So I'm thinking actually of the area where people park for Community Day.
The baseball field.
The baseball field.
Gotcha.
And if I'm picturing it correctly, the small adjunct road, I'm going to forget the name of that. I've only driven by it for 35 years. I still don't know the name. That is lower than where Michelle lives up in the house. So, I mean, I think it sort of is conducive to have the screen down a little lower and have the cars go back. I did ask, I actually asked Todd Lindmark, I said, do you have any idea how many cars the Lions park at Community Day? And he's, neither one of us knew. He sort of took a guess about 300, 350, but I'm sure someone knows. That's a lot of cars.
And they come and go during Community Day.
Right. You still have to have the space in between. You can't squeeze, you still have to do this rows for a drive-in. I
think it's a great spot. That was the first thing that came to mind when you had said drive-in movie. I'm like, that's that Norfolk Airport, but we discussed why that was not going to
probably not going to happen.
The only question that I had about the Holmes Field though is I hope that we don't ruin it, like the cars going on the grass. You know what I mean? My
Well,
husband loves his lawn, so of
I know,
course I
well-
thought about that.
Yeah. So and they would know, but I think at community, I don't think we would do any more damage than what happens at Community
Yes,
Day.
I agree.
So
Yep.
I
Just
hope
a
it would
thought.
be okay.
Yeah, just a thought I had.
All right, so I think that, go ahead, Dawn, sorry.
Event be without bathrooms?
That's a good question. So we could get portable toilets, be $125. Right now, actually, I mean, it would be another, if we got two, it would be another $250, $300.
Another reason we need money.
Yeah.
One more
Right.
question.
Go ahead.
Does the movie function off of generators?
It can, yes.
Or would it, like if you had it at a church, would you need to draw power from the building?
You can do both, either one.
There might not be, do you think there's probably not a power source in Holmes Field? I mean, I don't.
You know what? With the homes, I think you never know.
That's true. You can't put it
But-
past them.
But you can use a generator. I was sort of hoping that the town, police, fire facilities might have a generator that we could borrow.
I'm sure the Lions could probably have something too. They do a lot of stuff. I'm sure we could find something. All right, so I think that kind of rounds out that topic. We're running a bit long, so.
So I would like to do a quick, I need to tell you a little bit about some current programming and just let you know of a situation. And I think we all know about the situation. I hope you don't mind me. I just, as a rec commission, you need to know. So I think you've probably all heard of the COVID-19 positive cases in town and in close to us. So, 19-year-old kids have brothers and sisters, and I run an outdoor program that has 16 counselors. So when the news broke that there were COVID-19 positive cases, I went to my counselors and we spent about 3 days doing all our tracing. I had 3 counselors. 3 counselors were tested and everyone is negative. So it's all good news, but I also got tested because I thought to myself, I am the link, even though we social distance and we wear masks, I am the link between all of the counselors who are the link to the 60 kids. And I was not going to take that chance. So I just wanted to let you know that was all done. I did send an email out to the people who had signed up for the outdoor program and let them know what was happening. And I just didn't want you to hear it from someone else and not know, what was going on. So we did have just one family who said they were going to think about what was going to happen if they were going to go or not. And, but everyone else still went. So that's all. Just no surprises for you. That's all.
It's the new normal we live in. I think any organization that has anything running right now is dealing with the same issues, especially in this area. All it takes is one person, and you can trace that back to 30 different ways right now.
Right. Well, we will have, and as I'm sure Kim knows, we have 2 sports programs coming up. One is girls lacrosse and one is girls field hockey. And there is a positive case, as I understand, on the field hockey team. So we will need to be addressing that. And even though it's a little bit of ways in time, we still need to address it. So before that program.
I think one of the new realities of life that we have to realize is we, and the little that I know about these recent town outbreaks is that as much as we would hope that we can trust high school students and young college students to make the right decisions, that's not necessarily the norm right now. That sense of independence is, still sought after by the younger generation, which I can completely understand and appreciate, but it's to the detriment of the larger community. So I think with these programs that we're having, it needs to be made to them very clear the risks that they're putting, not just themselves in, but the kids that are at those camps, the parents, their grandparents, that it goes well beyond just their own little, world that they live in. And we were very fortunate through March, April, and May and into June. But as I've been saying all along in the various other programs that I've been involved in town, it was on our doorstep in May, and it's now in our homes. And we, and I live right by, the fields where the dugouts are. And, there have been times where I've thought about pulling in to say, look, guys, you're well exceeding this, the social distancing and the standards that are set forth by the town and, the state. And so we need our residents to realize that those guidelines are still in place. So, if those camps are starting soon on the sooner side, we should probably think about having an ad hoc private executive committee meeting on how we're going to articulate that to to those people that are using our fields and participating in those activities, because it really gets me upset when I see 15 to 20 parents sitting in close clusters watching their kids play baseball, and kids are on the baseball field with masks on. So we have to lead by example, and that message needs to continually be reinforced, unfortunately.
So to your point, Charlie, I've not that I go to all the baseball games, even close to it, but when I have gone to baseball games, I do see the kids social distancing. Each one is sitting in a section of fence. Mm-hmm. I do think Norfolk baseball has actually done a really good job.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
I really hats off to them, because I'll see a visiting team come in and be like clustered together. And I've actually gone over and said, we have a 6-foot distancing policy here, I think, and that's what you need to do. But regarding the recent COVID-19 cases, and I don't want to suggest that I know all the details. I don't know all the details. But I think one of the issues was not of course, one of the, the main issue is the kids going to a party, someone being positive, and as I understand it, 6 people becoming, in total positive. But it's the brothers and sisters that went out before they had the test, or as the sibling was being tested. The younger sibling was allowed to go to programs, and that's what I think put the fear of God into people. And it's just kind of shocking to me. I mean, if someone is, has and I'm just throwing out numbers, but I think I know most of the kids, they've worked for me in the past. If they're 19 years old and they have a 16-year-old sibling, letting the 16-year-old sibling making it, it's not the 16-year-old sibling that's making the decision about if they're going to a practice. And I hope people have learned from this. I mean, it's just it blew up very quickly. So, thank goodness, from what I've heard, a lot of people are testing negative. I will tell you, on Saturday, I went to Caremark in Marlboro. I had to wait 5 hours. They were very upfront. I said, look, I just need to be sure. While I was sitting in that parking lot waiting, I saw a lot of KP cars pulling in. A lot. So people are scared. I mean, and maybe this is a wake-up call, and let's hope that everyone makes it through just fine and there's no residual effects and we can be better in the future.
I think part of the problem is that, one person who has it can spread it very quickly to 30 people. So although I heard there was a few parties that went on, it wasn't just one party in particular. I mean, these are like going on, know, but I will say the majority of, even the youth that I'm dealing with, I have kids in my program, and we were at Beaver Pond in Franklin last night. I see all these kids coming and going, and they are so responsible and so aware. Mm-hmm. So I think the problem is that it's like everything. The masses of that age group are doing an amazing job. I think that it just takes one bad
Yeah.
case to sort of seep it to 30 or 40 people without even batting an eye. Before you know it, it's touched 30 people.
Yeah.
Just because that's the way this craziness is. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, you don't want to shame somebody because, we don't want to be in that thing either. I've seen a lot of that going on.
Yeah. I have to say, I think very highly of my counselors. I mean, I got in touch with them. They did everything they were supposed to do. There was one person I said, look, it's too close. And she went and got tested. I mean, that was it. And, I went and I had the swab test that you got the results back in 15 minutes. I had to wait several hours to get that test, but it's okay. I learned a lot while I was watching all those cars pulling in and out, and brought my work with me, and it was just fine. And better safe than sorry any day.
Yeah, and I think we just play it by ear like we did with the baseball, like with fall sports.
Well, soccer is now a moderate sport, if you haven't heard. So I haven't heard from any soccer organizations other than Juventus, who we already rent our fields to. But it's very recent. I think it was July 24th that soccer was deemed a moderate sport rather than a high risk sport. So we probably do need to think about a field allocation process for the fall. And we do have, in case you don't all know, we do have a COVID-19 statement in our field allocation policies now.
That's good.
Sounds like those soccer people had a nice lobbyist up there to get that done.
Yeah.
So, wow. All right. So I would say I'd kind of get wrapping up with, we're running a little bit long, but we do have quite a bit left on the agenda. So
how about if I go as fast as possible?
That is also just possible too. Just as possible. Good. So there's programming field hockey. I know you wanted to discuss that.
So I have to say, Kim, I'm thrilled that you can help and you've offered to help with field hockey. Field hockey is like, it's this wonderful sport that I have had the very difficult time like developing it and making it work. Franklin starts field hockey at kindergarten. I mean, it's, and so do many other towns, but we have, so far we have 20 kids signed up for the Commonwealth League, which actually is 10 and 10, which probably it's not quite enough, but we can work on that. So we should be able to have 2 teams in the Commonwealth League, and we probably, maybe Kim and I can talk offline about how to do some developing and get the word out for the clinic, and include and talk to Lisa about how we can do that.
And I'm happy to talk offline anytime you want, because I could talk for days on field hockey and I don't want to occupy.
Well, me too, because I'm actually field hockey is a great sport and I'm really happy about being able to develop it further. So that's terrific.
Awesome.
Does anyone have any questions about programming? Charlie brought up the fact that the school would be getting in touch with me, and the school did get in touch with me today and asked if, depending on what happens with school, things are not decided, things are not voted on, certainly. But if there is a hybrid model, that means kids will be going to school a couple of days and having to do their work 3 days. And they're looking to the school's looking to see how to make this work for the community, how to make it work for working parents. And they asked if I would, be interested in helping with that. And I certainly said yes. I said, the biggest roadblock is space. I don't have space. I have a multi-purpose room. I've already talked to some of my sports organizations for the sports for the sort of the 3 to 5 age group. And I've talked to my preschool teachers about doing small groups. And that's what I'm working on that. But as far as facilitating and people, students, I don't want to say K through 6. It might be 2 through 6. I'm not really sure. If we can help and I could supervise or have staff to supervise them to do their work, you know, if we can find space somewhere, I said that I would, I'm open to doing that. So that's where we are with the programming on that.
Yeah, no, I think it's, you know, I applaud you, Ann, for doing that. And I think we should support, you know, the school department and the school committee, but most importantly, those what is about to be frontline workers in the sense of teachers. So
Yeah.
anything that we can do, I think we should throw the full weight of the rec commission behind it and make sure that we're able to support them. So I'm in favor of that.
Okay, so I'll continue to have conversations with them over the next probably several weeks, but at least the next couple of weeks, just learning about what they're looking for. I understand the Y has reached out and said that they could help with remote learning, but you need a lot of space for remote learning. I mean, there's still the 6 foot, you know, distancing, and so anyway, we'll know more soon, and I'll let you know.
All right. So, Ann, anything else on programming?
Not for me.
All right. So the next thing is capital plan. I don't know what do we need to decide?
So I don't know that we need to decide anything right now. I can update some of this. I mean, at one point we had talked about getting a deep tine aerator. But honestly, DPW is, I will say the past 2 weeks have been much better working with DPW now that the two guys are just talking to me directly. I don't think in 20 years I have been as frustrated as I have ever been as I was a month ago with DPW. I couldn't get an answer. All I would hear is when I expected too much, or I was expecting things to look like Fenway Park, when in fact, all I was expecting was the field to be mowed. And I was like, that's hardly Fenway Park. So, but things are much better the past couple of weeks. So I have to say to Blythe, I appreciate the fact that she stepped in and, you know, sorting through things, you know, there's new direction at DPW, and it's, I think they're, finding their way. So it might take a little time, but I don't think that purchasing a deep tine aerator for them to use when they're not using the seeder we bought or anything else, I don't think that makes sense. So right now, you know, I took over the irrigation, and that's the irrigation at Pond Street should be fixed by now, although I am needing to get a filter for the well. I took over the fertilization. That seems to be going very well. And last week, working with David and Kevin was as easy as could be. It was lovely. And this week, David is out on vacation, and I'm working with Justin, and it's basically, they're like, whatever you need. And it's like, it's a 180-degree turn. It's lovely. So things are good.
Excellent. So that kind of covers the DPW
Yep.
there. So I guess what I would suggest, we could put, what do you think? Do you think we should put capital plan on next time, or do you think it's something we should discuss now?
Well, I think that for now, I mean, if people think about you know, as far as the major investments that we should be looking at, and I think it still revolves around the expansion of Pond Street, maybe some, you know, lights, you know, everyone think about priorities that each of you would like to see, and then compare it to what we have on the capital plan, and, you know, start with that.
Yeah, so I could just add real quick, we had talked about, you mentioned the Pond Street thing, and if you look at the capital plan, that's the bulk of what our capital plan is going through, what our requests are from the town. So there is a bill filed up at the State House now that would grant us that additional acreage. I think we're all kind of familiar with that. Kim, maybe not, because you're new to the board. So essentially, we have a bill pending in the House of Representatives right now up at the State House that would grant us, I believe it's 46 acres, something like that, of land, and it's the land that surrounds Pond Street. So if you look at a map, it kind of encompasses the whole thing. We were given 5 of it at the same time that Walpole got that 60 acres we discussed earlier, where they're putting the brand new beautiful facility. For reasons that go beyond this meeting, we did not get the full 46 at that time, but we were able to work a deal up there with Department of Correction to release the other 41 acres to make 46 or something roughly in that area, to give us at that same discounted price that Walpole got it for, so we could look into expanding the Pond Street facility. So what it really was, at that time, it was kind of an offset to the prison mitigation funding. So we get prison mitigation funds every year in the budget for hosting the prison and the visits that our public safety has to put in there and all that stuff. That particular year, they didn't give it. So they gave us an opportunity to buy land at a discounted rate instead. They are agreeing to the same discounted rate this many years later, at least right now in that bill. So we got very lucky with that.
That's great.
I spoke to Representative Dooley, I think at town meeting, brought it up, and he was hopeful that it was still on track to pass this session. I talked to him again. I think it's moving slowly. They're typically end session at the end of July, but they're extending it because of the virus. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and that would give us kind of that first step into the whole process of expanding Pond Street and looking at these capital expenditures. So kind of a long-winded response to say that we're on track, hopefully, still.
That's awesome. That's what everyone needs, is more field space.
Especially nowadays. The more space, the better in these ages.
Yep. The more turf, the better.
I have to say, I will add that if this is very pie in the sky, even with more field space, I would not object to having one of the soccer fields become a artificial turf field.
My thing is, when we go for that, we can go for lights, we can go for whatever it is we're gonna go for.
Yeah.
So it's a one-time
awesome.
thing.
New
Yeah.
courts. Our courts are falling apart, but anyway.
That's awesome.
All right. So the only other thing, there's really no CPC update. To be honest with you, we did not meet in July, so I don't think that there's any update at all. I think we met in between the last 2 meetings. So it's just the social media and publicizing field restoration item. So this is something I threw on there. So Kim, you might not be familiar with it. The rest of the commission, you should be. So we put in roughly a little bit over $100,000 into the fields over the last several months. So that consisted of a large chunk from CPC that went into renovating the field with the snack shack over at the Freeman Kennedy School, redoing the parts of the softball field across the parking lot where they kind of tore up the grass from behind. And then over at the Pond Street, the Babe Ruth field, the big fields, regrading the infields, redoing the mound home plate areas. Plus, and also purchased new home plates and bases for a lot of the fields. So all that to say that our fields are looking better than they ever have. So I wanted to throw it out there to see what the commission's opinion was on publicizing kind of our upgrades, putting something out on social media, thanking those that helped in the process. I think it's important to keep a positive name for us out in the public, and to let people know that we're actually spending the money that they're allocating to us for what we said we were going to spend it on. I think that goes a long way. So we don't have to discuss it now. I think it's just an idea to get out there and put in your heads and see what you think. So
Why wouldn't we? I'm just,
yeah,
I'm trying to figure out why we wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think I was going to post something in the community page myself, but then I can't speak on behalf of the commission. So maybe next time we can talk about the best way to do that.
Okay.
it's a Facebook social media thing or something in the paper or trying to do something like that. So I can throw that off until next time. So
So can I just mention, now you mentioned the newspaper, so the Norfolk Rentham Times, the deadline is the 15th of the month. So maybe getting in touch with the editor now to see if they want to do put something in the paper for the next time.
in my experience with them is if we were to come up with a press release that we word, they'll put kind of what we want in there almost to what we write. I can ask and see if they're interested in doing anything. But I think we also have the option of putting something out ourselves, saying what we want to say. I'll get into contact.
Well, just so it's, but as far as we can ask them if they would put pictures in and things like that, a lot of it is space related.
Yes,
if you
correct.
ask early enough, and because we're a town board and department, it's usually there's no cost.
Right. All right, I can do that. I know the editor. I've been in contact before, so I can reach out and see if they have any interest. That's a great paper because that goes to everyone. I think people read that.
Yeah, I think they do.
All right. Put that on for next time. So that would just leave us with scheduling our next meeting. So I think there's a lot going on, as we kind of discussed, and it's important for us to keep in contact with the whole virus and our programming and seeing how things go. So I would suggest, when I would suggest I actually won't be here on the 18th. So maybe either the week of the 11th or the week of the 25th.
Could we do it on a Monday?
Oh yeah, so the 10th or the 24th.
Are you talking about August?
Correct.
Yeah, well, the 11th is like essentially next week. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks. So maybe we go for the 24th.
Yeah, I think the 24th, like that week would probably be ideal because Ann will know way more with the school committee's decision.
Yeah.
The only
Okay,
thing for me is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The only thing for me is I'm busy until 7:15, but since I have the computer right here, it'll be turn that off, turn this on, and we'll be good to go.
I think that's
The 24th works for me as well.
okay.
I would say, why don't we do 7:30 then on the 24th? That sounds like it works for everyone. So I will try to work on doing a rotation for the notes by that point so we can figure out who's going to do what when. And I could probably just break it out by month. We typically meet every month, and then we can work in the details later on. So, all right. So I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right.
It was nice seeing you all. Welcome, Kim.
Absolutely.
And can I
Thank
have
you.
can I have your attention for a couple of seconds?
Okay.
Something I wanted to mention. All the rest of you can go.
Oh.
All right.
My son and
Bye.
I,
Bye, everyone.
How's it going, guys?
my son and I, not hike, but run, jog in the Pine Street, about like 6 a.m. And I keep seeing these
Wait, Pine Street or Pond?
Pond Street. Sorry.
Okay. You know what? Everyone does that, by the way. That's why I did
No,
ask.
it's 6 a.m. It's nice and quiet. Nobody's
It-
there.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's perfect.
Oh, I meant the mixing up the pond and the pine. I
Yes,
asked
okay.
because it happens all the time.
So anyway, there's a group out there that I keep seeing them doing practice, and there's like 20 of them, and I think they're doing
On field A,
cricket.
suck.
No, not soccer. This is cricket or something. It's
On
something I
Sunday-
haven't.
Okay, Sunday mornings.
Sometimes Sunday, sometimes middle of the week, and none of them are wearing masks. And I'm like, oh, stop.
So,
And I haven't talked to them because I'm.
So, Mark, I actually really appreciate you bringing this up because I was told that there's someone playing cricket on the baseball field on Sunday mornings, but I get told after they've gone. So if I'm happy to talk to them. but if they're not doing those things, they have to be. They're also shouldn't be using the fields.
Okay.
I mean, they're an organization. I mean, I think they're an organization. I think they might be the organization that used the Rentham fields to play cricket. And I don't mind them using the fields, but they have to abide by the rules. They have to provide insurance and they have to pay.
Yeah.
And I don't, so are you there at 6 a.m?
Yeah, we usually do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I've seen them occasionally Saturday, but.
And they're playing cricket at 6 a.m?
Yeah, well, or they come out and do it. If you want, I'll like take some pictures and show you who they are and that kind of stuff.
I would love it. I would love
Perfect.
love it. Because if I can't be there, I usually am up at 6 a.m, but I'm really probably not in town.
Understood. I haven't confronted them because I'm like, I sound like I'm just some old white guy telling them, hey, no, you're not supposed to be doing this. But
well, you know what? It's actually one of the reasons, and we haven't talked about this recently. It hasn't really come up, but in the past, the recreation commissioners actually had like a jacket that said Norfolk Recreation on it.
Oh, cool.
Because and that's one of the reasons I wear this.
Mm-hmm.
So because not everyone knows who certainly not everyone knows who I am. A lot of people do, but not everyone does. So, if I have Norfolk Recreation on, they'll be like, oh, are you Ann? Or, oh, and it just makes it so much easier to have that conversation rather than saying, hey, this is who I am, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I will check. I'll make sure and get names and dates and that kind of stuff, and I'll send it on to you.
You're also welcome you can text me anytime. If it's 6 a.m, you're welcome to text me. That's fine.
I don't think I have your cell phone number to text you.
Okay.
All right, let's save that. Okay. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. There we go.
I'm going to make sure I have your contact too. So
actually, why don't I just do that? Let me give you my phone number, my cell phone number, and you just call it, and then I'll have your stuff instantly.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, ready? It's 781-864-0150.
864-0150.
Yes, that's 781.
Yep. So I'm just calling.
Yep.
So.
And now you should have me. All right.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. So I will send you whatever I find and
that
just let you know.
That is incredibly helpful. So someone mentioned it to me, one night at the ball fields like 2 weeks ago. Well, and I said, so when are they here? Oh, I don't know. Sometime on Sunday, sometime in the morning. Okay.
Well, I will find out all the details.
And then someone asked me again just this week, but it's, so knowing they're there and knowing they're there more often means it's not just a friendly pickup game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they keep having more. I keep seeing more and more. I mean, when they started, I think there was like 4 or 5 guys. I'm like, okay, well, they're keeping apart.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I would guess in the neighborhood of 15 to 20. And I'm like, guys, come on. Do you not know?
And they're
this?
really
Look
not. And they're not.
The rules are right there.
Yeah. No. So I actually, depending on the pictures and stuff, I mean, I may actually call the police and say, hey, I need some help.
Okay. Last question. When we do this, because there's nobody near me, I just put the mask in my pocket. But if I get anywhere close to somebody, I put it on. And it's not because I hate it. It's just it fogs up my glasses and I can't see.
No, you know what? I don't wear a mask all the time. I'm even at the fields. I don't have a mask. I mean, on a 95-degree day, masks get hot.
But I'm cool with the masks.
I've actually
jogging
I think on a hot day it's really a little bit hard to breathe through, but as long as it's 6 feet or a mask, and and I try to put on a mask, if I'm even just talking to my counselors and things like that. But even at the fields, I don't have one on. I have it I have one in my pocket. If I'm going to talk to someone, I usually stop. I try to stop 10 feet from someone. I don't get within 6 feet.
Yeah, if they're on the fields and I'm running around, because we just do the edge of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because I have the blood that all bugs love. So if we go out in that thing, they'll eat me alive.
I have that blood too. So
A positive? that your
Is
blood type?
that what it really is?
Yeah, yeah, it's
It's
A
A
positive.
positive?
They love, like, if Jenny and I go for a walk in the woods, she'll get 2 or 3 ticks. Maybe the dog will get, 4 or 5. I'll get 28, 30.
So hold
40.
on. So, okay, so so I get eaten alive. Like, I can't tell you. But my brother, I think I have O positive, and my brother has AB negative.
I don't know that it's O is Jenny has O. So usually your O is you're fine, but you can be
Yeah.
you can have AO, and that makes you A.
Oh, now that you're saying that, I actually think I remember this, like from some medical chart.
Yeah,
So I'm actually kind of interested, a little more interested, because when I went to get tested for COVID, the person that did the testing said that there seems to be some relation between what kind of blood type you have and how COVID affects you.
And guess which one is the worst?
Is it
Type A.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not
So, and if you have type O, which Jenny does, you're the safest.
That's what she said to me, and I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
really, I think that's really interesting. I have to find, so back like when I was, having kids and all that stuff, I definitely knew what kind of blood type I had. But then everything just switches to my kids. I could tell you everything about my kids.
And nothing,
I'm lucky I can remember like
my own
anything.
name.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how it works that way.
So I will take care of this. I will send you the stuff. The reason I was asking about the mask is I was just worried about, well, you got this recreation commissioner out there and he's not following the rules. But I looked at it and it looked like I was following the rules. I just wanted to make sure.
You are following the rules. You do not have to have a mask on if you're socially distanced. Okay. And that's 6 feet. I don't have a mask on if sometimes I keep it on, but especially if I'm out on the fields alone working, I don't have a mask on.
Yeah. And that's why we go at 6 a.m. because I don't want to see any people, because I am at really high risk to get this stuff and for it to kill me. Yeah.
So. I know it's really, I have to tell you, whenever this COVID-19, this stuff broke out, and I had to be kind of careful around Kim because, there is a field hockey player, and it was a sister of one of the kids. And then in Norfolk, there was a boy that was being tested. In the process, he was being tested. His results weren't back, and the parents let the 16-year-old daughter go to 2 softball practices and umpire a junior softball game.
We pretty much don't let the kids out of the house. I mean, they can walk around our property. Yeah. Which was the other thing I was going to ask you about is, what if I put up because we've been doing this thing where the back of our house, I don't know if you know where our house is. The old Hazlitt farm?
Oh yeah.
That's our house. Yeah.
Oh, I actually knew Jim Hazlitt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody knows. That's why I tell everybody it's the old Hazlitt farm. We owned it now.
That's a cool house. I love watching. I see your big things and everything. Yeah.
On the back wall, like basically right where the end of my bedroom here is, we just put a big sheet up, and we have a projector so we can watch movies in the back of the house, just like that. But I was like, I could invite like 1 or 2 people over as long as they stayed in the cars and understood I don't have a bathroom that they can use. But
you actually, I have to tell you, Mark, you really can't. The laws around showing outdoor movies are so strict. It's crazy how strict they are. It's if you Google it, and see what and not all movies are licensed to show outdoors.
What if I just watch it myself?
That's fine. If it's your own social, that's fine. It's your pleasure, and you can invite your neighbors over, I think. Okay. And if you can't, you do it anyway, because even me, the rule follower, would say that's ridiculous.
I bought the movie. It's mine. I can do what I want with it on my property.
But it's right. So, but the rules for outdoor movies are just
crazy, because they're
crazy.
They want their pound of flesh.
And it's $450.
Which is nuts. So
I will a few years ago, a Boy Scout wanted to have a fundraiser, and he wanted to have an outdoor movie. And I stopped his conversation and I said, I'm going to be out of town that weekend. I need to tell you that you need a license for an outdoor movie. But I'm going to be gone. So all of that is up to you, and you need to take care of it.
And see you later.
I mean, I have to tell people, but it's just so inflexible.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like I pay licenses. I mean, I pay for music to be used in the town. And the whole thing is $300 a year.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
that's not too bad. But
yeah.
all right. Well,
No,
I'm gonna
the
let you
music
go, and
part
I will
isn't, but
send this stuff to you.
Okay. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Ann. Bye
Take
bye.
care.